Good morning students. In this session we will see the outbreeding devices. Now what do you mean by the outbreeding devices? There are certain flowering plants which are hermaphrodite, which means they produce both male and female flowers, or you can say the flower which has both male and female reproductive part, they are known as hermaphrodite. Now what happens in such flowering plants? As they are responsible for doing the self-pollination. The continuous self-pollination in them causes inbreeding depression. Now, what is this inbreeding depression? Continuous self-pollination results into this phenomenon, that is inbreeding depression, and as a result, the genetic stability and genetic characteristics of the flowering plant, they are being depressed. So, in order to overcome this phenomenon, the several plants, they are doing several mechanism. Now we will discuss one by one what are this mechanism. The first mechanism is that in some flowers or in some plants, the pollen grain and the stigma receptivity, it is not properly synchronized. Not properly synchronized means the pollen gets, either the pollen gets matured before or the stigma gets matured before than the pollen. So the time of maturation of both pollen and the stigma is different. So by this they can favor the cross pollination. Second mechanism is that in some plants, the pollen grain and the stigma surface, the distance between them, it is quite long, so that the pollen grain fail to reach the stigma. So this is another mechanism which favors the cross fertilization or the cross pollination. The third mechanism is self incompatibility. Now what do you mean by this self incompatibility? Here the pollen grains from the plant, they are not able to germinate, or we can say they are not able to fertilize the ovules that are present within the ovary. This is known as self incompatibility. Next mechanism is most of the plants, they can have the unisexual flowers, for example castor and maize. So in them what happens, the autogamy, it is not favored, but geitonogamy can be favored. And the last mechanism is that, suppose for example, the best example is the papaya flower or the papaya plant, in which we can say, or you can visualize easily, the male plant it is different and the female plant is different. This mechanism is known as diosy. Now in this mechanism, the autogamy and the geitonogamy, both it is neglected and they favor completely the cross pollination. So these are the different mechanism in which cross pollination it is favored and autogamy it is not favored. Again I am revising. The first we have seen the pollen germination, or you can say the pollen maturation and the stigma maturation, it is not occurring at the same time. Second, the distance between the pollen and the stigma surface, it is quite long. Third, self incompatibility. Fourth one, production of the unisexual flowers. And last one, that is the production of the individual plant, that is the male plant it is different and the female plant it is different. So this you have to write down about the outbreeding devices, and this all mechanism is to prevent the autogamy and to favor the cross pollination.